I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. Not out of drama, out of habit. When you grow up learning how to make yourself smaller, you also learn how to enter rooms after everyone has settled, after the glances are already aimed elsewhere. It feels safer that way. Less disruption. Less explanation. The lobby smelled like citrus polish and chilled air. Marble floors, soft music, the low murmur of money being comfortable with itself. This place had taken 3 years of my life, construction meetings that ran into midnight, negotiations where I swallowed my accent and learned a different language of numbers, decisions that cost me sleep and bought me leverage. Tonight, it was hosting my brother's engagement party. No one knew that part. At the registration desk, a young attendant straightened when she saw me. She didn't smile broadly, just nodded, the way staff does when they recognize someone who signs checks instead of receipts. "Good evening, ma'am," she said quietly. I returned the nod and walked on. Inside the ballroom, everything shimmered. Gold accents, white roses, crystal glasses already sweating condensation. My brother stood near the stage laughing too loudly, his hand possessive on his fiancée's back. She wore a pale blue dress that looked expensive in a way meant to be noticed. She hadn't seen me yet. My mother did first. Her smile froze for half a second, long enough to remind me that my presence was still an adjustment. She leaned in, kissed my cheek, whispered, "You made it." Like it was a question and an accusation wrapped together. I nodded. No explanations. I was reaching for a glass of water when I heard it, not loud, not meant for me. "The stinky country girl is here." Soft laughter followed, a breathy kind. Familiar, too. Like the girls who used to wrinkle their noses when I came to school smelling of fields and diesel. The bride's voice. I didn't turn around immediately. That's the thing about comments like that. They're designed to provoke movement, to force a reaction that confirms the hierarchy already imagined. Instead, I stood still, let the words land, let them hurt in the way they always had. Then I exhaled. I remembered my first investor meeting, the man who asked if I was comfortable enough with numbers to be leading a project like this. I remembered the bank officer who suggested I bring a male partner next time. I remembered signing the final papers alone, my hand steady, my name spelled correctly for once. The bride came into my line of sight then, her smile fixed, her eyes flicking over me in quick assessment, shoes, dress, posture. She didn't recognize anything worth respecting. That wasn't new. She turned away, already done with me. The party unfolded like these things always do. Toasts. Laughter that rose and fell on cue. Stories about childhood I half remembered and half survived. I stayed near the edge of the room, spoke when spoken to, answered questions about my work in vague terms that kept everyone comfortable. "Yes, business." "No, still single." "Yes, very busy." The bride's family arrived in force, men with confident bellies and louder opinions, women with practiced smiles and sharp eyes. They treated the hotel like a borrowed stage, rearranging chairs, calling staff with snapping fingers. At one point, one of her uncles complained loudly about the lighting. For a place this expensive, you'd expect better management. I watched the floor manager approach him, calm and professional, listening without interruption. "I'll take care of it," she said. She glanced at me briefly before walking away. The uncle didn't notice. Dinner was served. Speeches began. I clapped at the right moments, smiled when my brother's eyes scanned the room and landed on me, relief flickering across his face like he was glad I wasn't causing trouble just by existing. Then came the moment that shifted everything. A scheduling issue. Minor, really. The bride's father wanted to extend the party by 2 hours, something about additional guests arriving late. He stood, waving for attention, irritation sharpening his voice as he demanded exceptions. The floor manager returned, this time accompanied by the general manager. "I'm sorry," the GM said, measured and clear. "We can't extend without owner approval." The bride's father scoffed. "Owner? I'm paying for this event." "Yes, sir," the GM replied. "But ownership approval is still required." Silence crept in, the way it does when entitlement meets an unexpected boundary. The GM scanned the room. Then her eyes found me. "Mem's ramen?" she said, respectfully, projecting just enough for nearby tables to hear. "May I have a word?" Every head turned. The bride's smile faltered, not dramatically, just enough. I stood. The walk across the ballroom felt longer than it was. Not because of fear, but because of memory. Every time I'd crossed a room like this before, I'd been carrying apology instead of authority. I didn't speak loudly. I didn't smile. "What's the issue?" I asked. The GM explained. I listened. I nodded once. "We'll keep the original schedule," I said. "Staff has already accommodated beyond the contract. Please apologize for the inconvenience." "Yes, Mom," she said immediately. The bride's father stared at me, confusion turning into calculation. "You?" he began. "I own the property," I said evenly. Not as a reveal, as a fact. No gasps, no dramatic fallout, just a sudden, unmistakable shift. People straightened, voices softened, someone laughed awkwardly. Too late, the bride's face drained of something, confidence, perhaps, or certainty. No one apologized, that was fine. The rest of the evening passed differently. Staff checked in with me more visibly. The bride avoided my eyes. My brother looked at me with something like awe and something like regret. I left before the cake was cut. In the lobby, the citrus smell felt sharper, cleaner. Outside, the night air was cool and grounding. I stood for a moment, listening to the city that had let me build something quietly, without asking me to perform gratitude for it. I hadn't won anything, but I had stood in the same room where I'd once been diminished and remained whole. Sometimes that's enough.